have the spending page kind of laid out the way that we want to do it, and I'm going to tackle building the header portion. So if we go down into Adobe XD, we can see that the header here has a large title, and then it's got this little toggle back and forth between monthly and annually. And that's because it's important to know both of those spending amounts for people to know what their monthly spending is, but also annually. And so it'd be cool if we could set the chart so they could just flip easily back and forth between showing it monthly or annually. So what I'm going to do is go into the header here. This is where I am. And I think that I will make a div that says left. And that's where I'm going to put the title. So I'll go like this. I'll just call it left. And then I'll use my styled components to make that styled div. And then I'm going to make the container display flex. And then left, I will set a width of 60%, say. And then I'll do another one called right. And that's where we're going to put our dials. Make that 40%, and then I'll give it a background color of gray. And I'll make this one background, whoops, of pink. And then let's just have a look here and see if that worked. Okay, so we've got our two sections there. So if we look back over at the lifetime spending, we can see that we would have the left section here and then the right section over here. So now what we want to do is first we'll put this title in, and then we will add this little section over here. So if I'm going to put the title in, usually what I do, I don't remember off the top of my head which format I'm using for titles. So I'm going to go into, well, first maybe I will look into the income section. So here we go. So we've got this title. So it's a little smaller than in Adobe XD, but that's okay. So I'll just use the same one just so it's the same across the board. So I will go into income page. So these are all my charts. I'm going to close those. And then I'm going into pages, income, into header. And I'll have a look at what I used here. It's got a lot of stuff. Just a simple H1. So I had formatted the H1s, if I go way up into public, into the main base styles CSS. This is kind of something that's helpful to know. I set the font family across the board as Muli. I like that font a lot. Then I also did here, I set the font size, the basic font size, to 62.5%. I think it's because the base font size is 14 pixels. But if you do this, then every rem is 10 pixels. So it just makes it easier going forward just to know that every single rem is just 10 pixels. So we know that we've got our H1s here. These are set up, H2s, H3s. So I'm going to go down back into the spending header and just make this an H1. And then what was the title that I was using? Just lifetime spending, okay. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Back over to spending. There we go. It's going to need a little bit of padding. So in the left, I'm going to give it padding of 2 rem. See how that looks. Pretty slow. There we go. Yeah, I think that's pretty good for now. Now we've got to think about that toggle, how we're going to toggle back and forth between the two. And I've actually built something. If I pop over into the net worth section, this is what I've been working on lately. You can see here I've got this toggle. The only difference is that the other one is horizontal. So I don't know if we are too concerned. We could just keep it this way. For now, I think I'll try to figure out how to make it horizontal, and then we'll see how well that works. So in order to do that, we're going to need the spending to have some state, because this is going to be deciding if it's got to pass down to all of its children if it's going to be monthly or if it's going to be annually. So I'm going to use hooks here, and I'm going to go use state, and I will create a new I'll just go const. And then if you're learning destructuring, I hope you've been having some look at hooks so you kind of understand what's going on here. I'm going to put toggle monthly, or I'll call it monthly, will be the actual state, and then toggle monthly will be the function, and then use state. And then initially I like to go back and forth between true and false, so I'll just make it true. That way it's easier to toggle because you can make it just be the opposite of what the other one is, and if you have names it gets a bit confusing. So we've got that. Now I'm going to be passing this into the header, as well as the formula. So now in the header, I have these two items available. So if I go into the header, I'm going to destructure through because this is coming in. I'm going to pull in monthly and toggle monthly. Okay. So then the next thing is we're going to try to figure out how we can import that little toggle bar. I'm going to go down into my UI section. This is where I keep all of my different UI elements. So one over here, I've got, I keep a lot of them in forms. I wonder if this is the right one. Buttons. It's more of a button. Selector button. So here we are. With the fat and the skinny. So this is something that I built a little while ago, and it flips back and forth between being fat or skinny. So then I can look here at the selector button, and I look at what props is it wanting. So it's wanting a prop that says visible, so this will be the true or false, which in our case would be monthly because we know that's the true or false. Then it's going to have an on click, so that's a function that we can build for it. That'll probably be the setting of the state, and then some text. And then I guess the text here, it's just if I want to have a title for it. But in the case of the net worth, I don't think I'm using the text. So I know that selector button wants these three things. So I'm just going to copy it so that I can paste it up there and remember perfectly how to do it. So I'm just going to go like this, and then I'm going to import it. Okay, and then we'll throw it here, and we're going to pass in monthly toggle monthly. And let's see what happened. So I'm going to go back to spending. I don't have spending linked up in the dashboard yet, so we can't click easily to it. But later I'll get that set up. I'll have to put or make what's called a tile for it. So here we can see that we've got the little toggle, but it doesn't seem to be working. So toggle monthly. I'm going to look up into my net worth section and see how I tackled this before. So net worth header. I had the selector button, visible display, on click. Okay, so I was setting it the on click. Oh, that's my mistake. It's wanting to receive an on click function, and then here's where I'm going to be toggling back and forth within that function. So I'm going to go back to my header over here, and so I had accidentally called it toggle monthly. That was wrong, and then so is this. This is also wrong. So that's not very helpful for you guys, but on click, so it's wanting to receive visible. So in this case, visible equals monthly, and then toggle monthly is like that. So, and then this is the opposite of monthly. I don't know if those are the best names for it, but for now, we'll just keep them that way. So let's see here. Perfect. So now I'm switching the state back and forth. If I were to go into spending, and now if I go console log of monthly, then I can just verify that that's what's happening. So I'm going to open it up. And then as I go back and forth, I like to just make sure that that's right. And then I wonder about doing a transform rotate on it. I don't know if that's the best thing to do for this, but maybe I will. So let's just try. I'll make a selector wrapper here. When I'm doing stuff that's manipulating the different divs, if I'm pulling it from the UI components, if I want to change it or move it in any way, I like to put a wrapper around it, so that way I don't have to change the actual component and it doesn't mess anything else up. So in this case, I'm just going to build a selector wrapper, which is going to go around the button. And I'll throw the button inside. And then let's see if we can just do a simple transform rotate X. I hope this is the right way. And I'll say 45 degrees and see what that does. Might have to be 90 degrees that I'm trying to rotate it. Oh, that didn't rotate it. So transform rotate. Maybe I'll take out that. I'll go 90. Oh, and now it just disappeared. You know, I think for now, I'm just gonna, well, I might just take it out and just leave it vertical. I could also just make another selector button that is horizontal, but I don't want to waste too much of your time struggling around with this. So I think I will just leave it horizontal, and then I'll have a look at how I set it up over in the net worth section. So in net worth, I had the similar display situation, and then in the header, let's see how I tackled it there. So I put the select, so I had a category selection, and then I did a selector button, and then I had different categories. So I had assets, and then I also set them so that they would highlight. So I'm just going to copy all this over and then rename it. In here, I'm going to need this to go up there, but then I'll just put in the different monthly, etc. And then I'm going to go back over into here. I'm going to take, I need the category selection, categories, and category. It's a lot of different names. So I'm going to take all of these. I'll delete the selector wrapper. And we'll see if that works. So it's wanting to, I'm just going to change all occurrences of display to, wait a second, display here. Okay, so down in category, and this is why I love styled components, I have it set so that it's receiving its own props specifically to this styled div. And then this is what's enabling it to have a border. So if I go into the, if I go into the net worth section, when I click on one, the one that's clicked on will also have a border underneath. I could also highlight it or do different things like that. So in this case, it's just looking to see if the element is true, and then it will do that. So I'm just gonna switch these all over to monthly. And then in this case, I don't think I need the spans because it's just going to be monthly or annually. And then set display is not a function because we're using toggle monthly. You know, I really wish that I just kept the same formula names because then it wouldn't be going back and forth like this. So next time, or I'll probably go through and just reformat them so that they're back to just being the same. It's a little easier across the board. So we've got those there. Let's see. Okay, so now when we click them, I'm going to take off the backgrounds. I'm also going to go into spending because we know that our formatting positions are good. So I'm going to take out these backgrounds as well. And then in the control panel, the container here. So all those backgrounds should be gone. So now we can see our highlight line there. Oh, but it's still red. Why is it red? Into header. There we go, background red. And then I don't want the annually to be a red color. That's just from the liability section. So I'm going to take out the color there. Okay. And then it needs a little bit of padding on the top, I think, because it's a little tall. And let's check out how this worked. Yeah, this looked way better. I might have to spend a fair amount of time really kind of jigging around to make sure that, because I like this layout quite a bit more. I also like the fatter selector. That looks cool. So it will take me quite a while to do that with having you code along, but I just want you to kind of see how I'm approaching different challenges. So later I'll probably go through and either build it like that, or maybe if you guys feel up to it, you can build it like that. Basically, you'll just have to either rotate the selector and then, or just build a new one that's horizontal. So in this case, we've got it. Doesn't look as good, but at least we've got something. We're toggling back and forth. I'll give it a little bit of padding on the top. The categories, so it is the right section. I'm going to go padding top 2 rem. Let's just see what that does. Should just move it down just a little bit. Cool. Okay, so if we had the chart just kind of in the center here, like that would work. We might want to spend some time though just making that a little cleaner so it looks more like the Adobe XD selector. But for now, that just gives you a bit of a walkthrough on how I build the header section. So you can see, just to wrap things up, that the logic for the header is being held in the overall app here. Most of the times I'm keeping a lot of the logic in the control panel, but in this case, because they all might want to be accessing it, I'm going to be keeping this logic up in here. And then you can also see why I'm using the state, or the use state selector and everything here. And then if we go into header, you can see how it's changing them using the on click, because the function's been passed down, then it's passing it to the UI component and then toggling back and forth. So I hope that kind of just gives you a little bit of an idea of how we're working on this. And then, yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Cool.